Hi YouTube, welcome to Non-Binary Fridays. My name is Emory, and thank you for watching my first year on T. I just choked on a kiwi, so if my voice like randomly cuts out, that I don't know what to tell you. Like that. I'm trying to do a video, man. Okay, so this week on my first year on T, we're talking about drag, and I think that all the other people on the channel have already probably covered everything that I'm going to say, so I'm going to kind of cut it short and focus just on one part. First, I want to say, I feel like my life is surrounded by drag right now. First of all, I'm wearing a Katya t-shirt, who is a drag queen. I also have a Trixie Mattel shirt, who is a drag queen. But Bianca Del Rio, another drag queen, was just in Richmond last night. So my life is just surrounded by them, I guess. I don't know. And then we have the whole RuPaul drama that's going on right now, which I'm not going to comment on because I know it has already been talked about, but basically, the fact that there's drama that involves the trans community that was started by a drag queen kind of leads me into the topic that I want to talk about. I think that my main goal for this video is just to talk about how I think that drag should be a platform for educating people about the LGBT community. Right now, drag is pretty much just what it is, and by that I mean drag is the act of overperforming femininity or overperforming masculinity, and that's just what it is, and I think that's really fun to watch. I think it's like really interesting, and I think it's funny, and I don't think that it damages the LGBT or trans community directly. I think that the overperformance of gender is a cool social commentary, and it opens the door for people to talk more about how gender is perceived and how it's being performed and things like that, and I think that's important. However, I think that drag should become a platform for education, and the way that I suggest that to make it better for the LGBT community that's kind of being commented on, which like trans people and cis people and non-binary people and everyone in between, I think are kind of being commented on with drag. So I feel that shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and any kind of publication that talks about drag queens should have some kind of like PSA at the end. So if you've ever watched like Catfish, for instance, they'll have people on the show who maybe self-harm, or they'll mention people being suicidal or eating disorders. At the end of the episode, they'll say, if you're struggling with an eating disorder, call this number or go to this website that might help you, and that kind of thing. So there's a little PSA at the end that debriefs about that topic and gives people room to go educate themselves, even if there's not a full segment in the show that talks about like what these things mean and stuff like that. It still gives you a resource to go to, and I think that RuPaul's Drag Race would really benefit from there being a little PSA at the end that either redirects people to education about trans people and how they're different from drag queens, or have a short segment of maybe a trans woman who is a drag queen on RuPaul's Drag Race standing up and saying, hey, I'm a trans woman, this is what this means for me, and this is how it's different from everyone on the show doing drag and me doing drag. I just think it would be really helpful to get more information to people who are watching that show, which I know that there are a lot of cisgender and heterosexual people who would watch that show and maybe get the wrong idea about what they think trans people are because of them watching drag queens. And so I think it would be a really good way to access that audience by putting a little PSA at the end of the show so that they kind of are forced to watch that and understand the difference between what drag is and what being trans is. But yeah, I don't want to comment on drag as a whole. I think that the performance and the I don't know, the whole like extremeness of it is just really fun to watch, and so I support drag. I don't think it's affecting me or damaging my life in any way. I can't speak for every trans person, so I'd love to hear from people who feel that it is damaging them, and maybe how we can fix it or reorganize how we think about drag to help out those people. But yeah, I just think that more education should be out there, and that drag queens who know more about the trans community or the rest of the LGBT community would talk more about it openly. And one good example of somebody who does do this is Courtney Act. So back in Luca's video, he talked about how there was a drag queen who said some inappropriate things that I'm not going to repeat, but they said some inappropriate things about a trans man, and explaining that, like, in his eyes, a trans man's not a real man because of multiple things, and actually that was Willem, the drag queen, and Courtney Act, another drag queen, was there and immediately stopped the conversation and said, that's inappropriate for you to say, and here's why. Here's what trans people are. Here's how they identify. Here's how that makes them whatever gender that they say that they are inside. And so I always say she, I mean, she was in drag, so to be fair, but so she stops the conversation, just immediately educates, and it was on TV, it was on some kind of reality show. I'm not sure exactly if it was like a YouTube show or something. I found it on YouTube. But I think that drag queens like Courtney Act need to be lifted up and talked about, because Courtney is going out and directly educating people on purpose in public. She'll like tweet things about the LGBT community and supporting everybody in all different types of identities and stuff like that, and just does that openly, and I think that's awesome. And by the way, Willem, who said the inappropriate comment, has since retracted the comment and apologized and explained what was wrong with what they said, so that was good. No hard feelings from me, but yeah, I just think that the drag queens who are out there educating people should be lifted up, and we need to make drag more of a platform for education as a whole. But that's all I had to say about that. I just want to put in a quick plug here that I am 3 months on T today, and I have top surgery in 25 days, so I'm posting my 3 months on T video either shortly after or shortly before this video goes up, so I'm gonna put a card somewhere in here as soon as it's up, so that you guys can click over and watch that as well. That's on my personal channel, and I will put my Instagram and my personal channel name in the description box down below. So if you liked this video, go ahead and click the like button if you think that drag should be a platform for education. And if you have any comments or video suggestions, put those in the comment box down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the other guys' content on this topic and other topics. And come back and see me every Friday on Non-Binary Fridays. And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.